Jade is somebody who usually she streams her own games. She's a real big French player. She's a real big John Dark player. I've seen some Roos come out of her as well. And if you guys know me, you know Roos is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Kathiyeee on the other side, or who I like to call Katharina, she big deli player, big elephants. Love the elephants. Abbasid player as well. Abbasid player as I'm ready to roll. Let's dive into game one. I'm so ready. The very first AoE4 game on the Steel Series channel. It's coming to your phone, screen, monitor, refrigerator, wherever you want to watch us. I see Beastie in chat saying Tim perfect sound now. Time him out, mods. 10 seconds, please. Thank you. We have Jade playing in the color yellow, spawning in the eastern side of the map as the French, her opponent, Kathiyeee, who I like to call Katharina, playing as the Deli Sultan, in the color pink, spawning on the western side of the map. And, you know, Whamen, I don't know if you have a lot of experience, because I know what kind of civs you like to play. You like English, you like Mali, you like Zushi, you like the civs I don't. So with Deli versus French, usually we see a lot of, especially from what I've seen in the open division so far, there's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of 1TC, all in, I'm going to make units, and I'm going to try to thrash you.
Oh, for sure. The problem with Delhi, for me as a civilization, that I really struggle against is just the amount of units you can get so easily. So for people who are not from AoE, I will be explaining things, a little over-explaining, I would say, just to make sure that we can introduce new people to our wonderful, wonderful scene. And what we're going to be seeing here, Delhi is a very aggressive civilization. They get to mass a lot of units because they don't need gold. They actually get the gold from the sacred sites if they can get that early push on. Well, French, on the other hand, this is a civilization that thrives on getting big damage done. They make knights, but they're also a very, very hungry civilization. So that's going to be something that is very important for us to watch, because if Jadester can get damage done, she's going to be able to get ahead. And she's going to be able to deny resources from Kathiyeee. But if Kathiyeee can stop Jadester from snowballing, I think this is going to be an absolute walkover from Delhi.
Yeah, it's really important you said the word snowball, because I'm going to go into my snowball analogy now. If people have watched me cast before, you've probably heard this. As Jade's going up at School of Cavalry, Kathiyeee going to be going up with the Tower of Victory. So both of these civilizations really are snowball civilizations. And the best way, obviously, the best way to get a snowball, you got to pack the snow right. Of course. So for French, usually that first 4 to 5 minutes, they're thinking, okay, leave me alone. I'm going to get School of Cavalry. I'm going to start getting Royal Knights out, which are rather expensive units. And then they're able to take a first engagement. They're able to win that fight, and then they can snowball from there. Delhi, on the other side, in Feudal Age, obviously they want to take it to you in Feudal Age as well. They're going to use, they can't make Knights, but they're going to be using Ghazi Raiders, even though I hardly know her. They're going to be using some Spearmen. They're going to be using some Archers with Tower of Victory, giving that plus 15% attack speed, so their archers are always going to be a little bit better. Their spearmen are going to be a little bit better. And usually in this matchup, whoever wins the first fight, whoever packs the snow to the best ability, makes the snowball, and then all of a sudden, 5 or 6 minutes later, you have an avalanche at your front door.
Oh, and I'm honestly just not sure how this will play out against one another. I feel like Delhi should be favored in this matchup, just because of the pure food focus they can do early game, and they can force French to stay in their base. And unfortunately, if you guys kept an eye on the scouts, you would have seen that our French player did not drown in the sheep that she would need to be able to get these knights out so easily. Well, you can see here the scout running around with 4 sheep. Well, I believe that our Kathiyeee lady, she has gotten quite a bit. So this is going to put French in a very peculiar position, because that would mean that French needs to go out on the map. Luckily for her, she does have a backwards deer pack, which is going to help tremendously, because you can just wall off here, which is going to be a very easy wall to deal with.
Yeah, it's really nice that she had that deer spawn in the back. She has berries in the back. She has a secondary berries all the way in the eastern corner too, so that's really going to help Jade. But what's nice for the Delhi, and this is something that I think Kathiyee's doing really, really well, for the Delhi, the berries, you do get a little bit of an increased gathering rate. Obviously, you get more in the orchard just because of the little bit of You can see the little, I call them palisades, but you can see the little pieces of wood that are around the berries. It just makes them gather a little bit quicker. For what she did, she expects a royal knight to come around the other side, right? And that's what Jade's doing over there on the eastern side. She's got a couple sheep, maybe deposit those back. You're running out of sheep, not that big of a deal. She pulls her villagers back to the deer, or to the sheep, so it's able to do that. Her wood line, though, a little bit still out there. For Kathie's spawn, she's got that wood spawn on the north side. She's got that other one on the eastern side. This is somewhere that she knows she is going to need to defend. She adds a couple spearmen out here. Got to remember, for the Delhi Sultanate, you can use your foot soldiers to make walls. And now this is such a good wall from Kathiyeee, because it just means that those knights can't get over there. And maybe Jade takes a little bit of HP loss on that knight where she really doesn't want to.
Now, the thing is, if you can get through that initial push with the French, when you have your spearmen who can create walls, which is great because you're not putting a villager in danger, that is actually going to put you in a very nice position to just start snowballing. Because now Delhi does have their barracks out, and we're going to be seeing these upgrades pumping in pretty quickly. So now, once you have those upgrades, which are not free for French, but they are free for Delhi, the fights will not be that even. But on the French side, we do have 4 on gold, which is pretty standard when you're constantly producing knights. We do see those sheep numbers going down a little bit, and you can see she's already looking at getting the berries, which means we are going to be dealing with quite a little bit of outside food sources. We see they're already moving outwards. Now, the Delhi doesn't have the army to come and punish this yet, but she will pretty soon.
Yeah, and it's crazy because for the French, you need that first 4 to 5 minutes to pack your snow, to get your Royal Knight out to kind of do some damage. You can see one of them on the north side of your screen. We'll be trying to hit one of those knights. It's very difficult to do that with a couple spearmen. But also for Delhi, usually their snow packing, maybe around like 6.5, 7 minutes. So right now for Kathiyeee, it takes a little bit of time because you need the wood to get your stable, your blacksmith to start producing your free technologies. She went for the barracks first, which is very good against the knight civilization because she has a couple spearmen that are going to help you out. So for Kath, it takes a little bit more time to get everything together, and she's going to be adding a second blacksmith, something very particular that the Delhi do, because again, techs are free, but they take a little bit longer. So having a blacksmith means you're getting them at 2 times the speed. So for the Delhi, it's kind of weird in terms of a macro situation because you need a lot of wood to get those buildings. And then once you get those buildings, you can take a couple off of wood and go back onto food. You guys are going to understand as you're watching AoE 4 a little bit more that macro is so important. You need to make sure, and this is something that I've told Kathiyeee and other players that I was coaching before, you need to, 1, make villagers, 2, make units. But the second part is rather difficult, right? Because you need your villagers to allocate on the correct resources to continuously produce units. And if you're able to do that, you're going to win more games than you probably should. Jade trying to get in on that north side. Really good wall. Honestly, from Kathiyeee, these are heads-up walls on the eastern side and on the northern side. That wood line is completely protected, Whamen.
Yeah, this is going to be a very difficult wall for them to break down. But I do believe with the archers, we're getting a little bit closer, they are going to be able to put some pressure. But unfortunately, the Ghazi Raiders are also being created. Now, guys, Ghazi Raiders do have this wonderful ability where they do extra damage to armored units, so they're not that bad against knights. So, yeah, let's go see if these knights can actually break through the wall. It does cause some pressure, so she will have to respond to this. But at the same time, these archers are being caught out. Oof.
Yeah, you hate to see that. I mean, Jade was trying to, again, she's trying to pack her snow, right? 9 minutes in the game. She's trying to get those archers out there. But Ghazi Raiders find them in the stealth forest. That's another 5 archers going down. And you know, once that big battle takes place here, Jade's going to be like, oh, man, I really wish I had those 5 extra archers for a lot of these spearmen. Kathiyeee doing a good job trying to take down some of these reinforcements. We've got Ghazis in on those archers on the northeastern side. And look at how much, just in terms of military mass, that Kathiyeee has. She's 3-1 right now. Knights going down. Army value now for Jade. You can see it on the lower left-hand part of your screen. She just had a knight that popped out, but her army value is 300. And that's the first fight that we're talking about, Whamen. Kathiyeee did a good job packing that snow. And all of a sudden, you're going to see Ghazi Raiders at the French base. That French base doesn't have any walls. It could be a recipe for disaster.
Right now, you see she's putting down a tower, a little desperation tower, as I would say, because now this tower is going to protect 5 villages, but 5 villages are not going to be enough. When those Ghazi Raiders arrive, they're going to be getting a few kills, and that is unfortunately going to be something that is going to be destruction. Now, I don't know if Kathiyeee will be pushing this far ahead and denying this, but we can see the food is running low. She did save a few sheep for a rainy day, but these usual deer that they would be going on would be a little bit out of reach when there's an army of this size knocking at your base. She does go try to deny, but probably just trying to get to the back of the base to do some harassment. The Ghazi Raider does, however, cause some problem.
And this one Ghazi Raider, it might end up going down because of the night, and it does. But the one thing that it's doing is creating a little bit of idle time, right? If you're able to get a little idle time from Jade, it means you're not getting that gold. You're not going to be able to continuously produce knights. Kathiyeee, because she took that first fight, right? Because she took that first fight, and it ended up being successful for her, you can, with the map control that she has, because she has about 85% of the map in terms of control, she can extrapolate the resources that are coming out of the map. Another one being those sacred sites. So Kathie's going to start getting those. On the northern side, she's got a scholar over there. She's going to be able to take that sacred site, get a little cheeky 125 gold per minute. But also, the reason why this compounds is on the western side, all the way on the western tip of the map, you can see that she's getting berries. You know, you can see it on your mini map. Some of these knights have to run in the opposite direction. If you're making a French horseman, 11 and a half minutes in the game, probably not great for you, right? Because of that little gold idle time. So Jade, I think at this point, she's feeling a little bit of desperation. She's like, okay, I don't really care what units I'm making at this point. I just need to make something. Well, Kathiyeee has enough units to get a nice little Ghazi raid. Jade with a good pull, going to be able to garrison a little bit of those, but there's only 5 you can fit in that outpost. All of these villagers have to run out. The outpost is like, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And a lot of these are going to be going down now. Villager worker kill count for Kathiyeee is going to start going up in that direction. Jade really needs those villagers because she's making a lot of expensive units. Again, this is idling the French. This is making sure that that snowball does not become an avalanche, and Kathie's doing a great job of that.
And what we can see is Kathiyeee did kill 4 villagers here, but keep in mind, French has faster villager production. So French needs those villagers to be ahead. And right now, they're barely ahead. And now with this eco damage, the idle time, that was not just a normal raid. That was also 19 villagers going idle. That's 19 villagers just not doing any work. And in that case, are you even going to be able to stop this onslaught?
Yeah, and I mean, most likely you're not going to be able to. Look at how many spearmen and Ghazis that Kathiyeee has. She's got 10 spearmen up against 5 knights. You really need a 2-to-1 split, so that's really going to help her. And Kathie's actually just diving right completely into that French town center. A lot of the times, that French town center usually has people around it getting sheep. There's a wood line there. There's a gold line there. But that town center didn't have any villagers in it. So it's not going to be good in terms of a defensive area. Kathiyeee, instead of diving that town center, she realizes that there's a lot of villagers around that deer. The deer pack ended up getting gobbled up. So Jade's going to be going to those berries over there on the eastern side. Good vision from that outpost, making sure that she backs up in the opposite direction. But again, Whamen, you see these villagers running around like chicken with their heads cut off. The reason they're doing that, it just means they're not getting resources. This is so huge for Kathiyeee.
And this villager just wanting to watch everyone die, gives up, realizes there's not even going to be enough space for me in that tower. So just gives up and calls it a day. The villagers do go and gather the last few berries they have here, but this fight is going to be the game decider. I am very, very sure. This is that point where you realize my knights can't kill these. They are able to snack down on a few, but now these knights are all running into the spearmen, into the Ghazi raiders, and they will be going down too. He does snack on a few people here at the back. You can see the archers. They are going to be dying to this knight if he gets enough damage, or she gets enough damage, and that's the wonders of a female-only tournament. You completely forget.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good fight by Kathiyeee. It was kind of mimicked the first fight, what was going on, and I could tell Kathiyeee in this particular instance, she is using not only control groups, but she's microing her particular units, right? You saw all of the Ghazis get together and get a surround on those archers. You saw those spearmen just kind of bolster where the Ghazis are, so if knights come up to try to do any kind of damage, the spearmen were there and making that DPS unit against cavalry. Again, we're seeing military count 26 to 15, economic count favoring the Delhi. Just like you said before, the French do get a little bit of bonus in terms of villager production speed. Wait a minute. Sanctity? We're in 15 minutes into this game. Okay, yeah, we're
Oh,
not going to say anything.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
it's about to
Let's
pop.
just-
It's about to pop.
Just,
Ooh.
oh my god.
Sanctity kicking in. And now, guys, what happened there is Delhi was supposed to get an upgrade pretty early on to be able to capture these sacred sites. And this is why she's not drowning in gold right now. She may have forgotten because she was being so aggressive at that point, but it does make the game snowball a lot less faster. At this point, I do believe this is going to be enough to end the game anyway. She might not need that gold. However, Jadester is looking like she is thinking about going to castle. With 500 food and 700 gold, you're not making units constantly. You can see there's 2 knights in the queue, 2 archers, but I don't know if she's going to be queuing up more. She might actually just be desperate for food, and she goes on to the very, very far gold. She has walled off, is walling off, but now we can see these villagers are just desperate for food. She doesn't have the wood to make a farm transition and she loses 2 more. 7 villagers total going down, and now that French lead just doesn't exist anymore.
And, you know, this is a really heads-up play. If you're somebody who's trying to learn this game, being aggressive, Kathie's doing a very, very good job because she stopped those berries over there on the eastern tip of the map. She did that previously, maybe about a minute ago. When you're playing an aggressive civilization like the Delhi, and you're playing a civilization that you're trying to smother your opponent, you're trying to suppress their resource gathering, you're thinking, okay, I stopped those berries over on the eastern side, okay? Where are they going to go next? Right? So you look on the minimap, you try to figure that out in terms of where you're going. It looks like we have a little bit of a fight going there on the northern side. We have Spearmen and Ghazi Raiders going to be able to make up that front line. I don't think there's enough knights here. The thing of it is, for Jade, she doesn't have any Spearmen in her composition. So these Ghazi Raiders essentially have free reign. There's not enough knights to be able to take them out. That little bit of extra damage to heavy units is really going to help. Before I even finish this sentence, French front line gets evaporated. All of these archers are going to be on the back end, and again, they shoot faster than those French archers. Along with those Ghazi Raiders, you got a small mass there of about 7. Now it's down to 5. Going to be dwindling down to pretty much nothing. Military count now 37-2, and Jade ends up calling it. Game 1 goes to Kathiyeee. In the very first game, Kathiyeee got aggressive. She took that first engagement. She was able to get out there, and Jade, as soon as Kathiyeee went into Jade's base, she crumbled. You know, so a lot of the times, really good aggressive players struggle with things like counter raids, struggling to be defensive. And we'll take a look and see in this game number 2, what ends up happening. Is there going to be a little bit of a boom off? Is there going to be a little bit of aggression? Very curious to see.
All right, and that also allows us to finally get into our second game. So guys, if you are ready, let's roll.
Oh, look at that wonderful transition. SteelSeries alias microphones. Y'all should pick yourselves up one. We got Kathiyeee playing as the Abbasid dynasty. In the color pink, we are on the map Gorge, spawning in the southwestern side of the map. Her opponent, Jade, playing as the Rus. And you might be thinking, if you're new to this game, you're seeing Jade kill a lot of deer. You might be thinking, why? Why is Rus doing that? Do they not like animals? Not so much. They do. They love animals. They especially love their pelts. And you'll see, as Jade ends up taking down some of these deer, you get a nice little +10. Every time you kill a deer, you get +10 gold because you're able to skin that deer, go ahead and sell it off to the best, I don't know, they auction it off or something. I don't know what goes on in that cabin. And also with the hunting cabin, put that near your wood line, you get a little bit of a gold trickle, right? You get that little bit of a gold trickle, so it helps you get to feudal age. A lot of times for Rus builds, you're never going to see a mining camp in Dark Age to get to feudal age because they don't have to. They use things like the deer, they use things like the hunting cabin trickle, and then it's going to be able to end up spearheading you into feudal age. You're going to get yourself a nice defensive landmark to help you bolster up. Kathiyeee on the other side, this is one of the reasons why, me personally, I love the Rus so much. By second 1, Kathiyeee has to respond to what Jade is doing. Kathiyeee instantly needs to be reactive, where she makes a second scout. She has to, because she has to deny some of these deer packs, some of these deer pelts. And I think, based on how many I've seen Jade take down, she's got to be close to that magic number of 200. And when it comes to the bounty system for the Rus, obviously there's 3 different tiers at 100 bounty, 250, and 500. There's a reason why 200 is very important, so you can get wheelbarrow in Dark Age. You can get wheelbarrow while you're aging up, and having enough gold to get that feudal age landmark as well.
Now, what we saw with the double scout opening, this is putting you as Abbasid just a little bit behind in terms of getting that extra village out, because Rus can go and build the second scout from the hunting cabin. Now, I don't believe that she would allow her to get this far ahead if she didn't go, she wouldn't have kept the game as even without those 2 scouts, because killing 2 deer packs is crucial when you're playing against Rus. The moment you allow Rus to get 3 deer packs, they are able to get a very, very early wheelbarrow. And we can see that Jadester was not able to do that. She actually is sitting here without the wheelbarrow upgrade that most people get by this point, because she was not able to get enough animals and get that extra dark market gold that we're talking about. Now, we do here see Kathiyeee running around with a lot more sheep than her opponent, because, you know, Rus was busy killing deer. Now, Rus is also a civilization that loves going to TC, so I'm very interested to see whether this is going to be a 1 TC aggression or just transitioning to 2. Now, Kathiyeee is opening with the military wing, which means she will get a few units early game. Now, out of the military wing, there's usually, again, 2 choices. People go for their second TC, and otherwise, I've seen a lot of people just go 1 TC full all in. So Tim, what do you think is the most common thing that we will be seeing out of this game?
You know, I think I'm gonna kind of metagame a little bit, because I've watched Jade play a lot of her actual, you know, league games. She usually does not second town center. She usually tries to 1 TC, go all in. She really likes night civs. You saw her play French before. She is a Jeanne d'Arc player as well, which is that French variant. She does play Rus, which makes early knights in feudal age. A lot of the time, and usually this is the particular area, as soon as that Kremlin gets built, those villagers that are building the Kremlin will go over to the stone and do things like get that second town center, but it'll take a little bit of time. You can see Kathiyee's going over to the stone herself, so she might be thinking for a second town center. This is a really important point in the game to try to figure out what's going on, to make sure you're scouting your opponent to figure it out. Kathiyeee with that military wing, again for the Abbasid, it's 1:45 seconds, whether you like it or not, to age up with that wing. She gets her 2 spearmen and 2 archers, which means she could use them not only for 1, scouting material, but 2, to do things like create villager idle time. And the best thing about those units is that they're free. So anything you do in terms of idle time, in terms of, you know, villager kills or whatever, it's exponentially increased in terms of value, just because you didn't need to make the production buildings to make these units. Look at Jade's macro composition right now. You can see it on the top right part of your screen. She's got 5 on food, 9 on wood, 3 on gold. This means no second town center. We will be seeing 1 town center. She's already added production buildings. She's already queuing things out of them. She's starting to get archers. Archers, really good against the Abbasid dynasty's military wing. You don't want to do things like add horsemen or knights or whatever, because you already have a couple spearmen. That's not going to help you very much. You get a decent amount of archers, you're going to be able to take down the spearmen. You're going to be able to take down the archers as well. It looks like Kathiyeee on that northern side, trying to figure out what's going on. You know, I really like this Kremlin spot from Jade, because she's got that gold. She's going to be able to protect it. She's going to be able to protect the top of that wood line as well. And for somebody who's playing against the Rus, this is a difficult civilization to raid.
Yeah, Rus just has so much power having this early defensive structure. When you have the Kremlin, you're securing this whole region, and you have that bonus on the lumber. So Rus does get a bonus if they have towers or the Kremlin near the woodline. So these things are now just going to get a little bit more snowbally. The scout does get caught out, but luckily, even if she loses this one, she has another. She does call the militia, and the militia are looking at defending. I believe it was a little bit early, but she would like to pick off these early units from Kathiyeee, because she knows Kathiyeee is going to DC. We saw that she did scout it, but Kathiyeee is not going too aggressively on the 2TC. She's not putting too many villages on there. She's making sure that she's pacing this out, because she did go for a stable. She is making units, so she's not rushing that second TC. She just wants to make sure that she can live long enough to get something out of this. But the militia are looking at diving. They do get a little bit of damage on the archers. And remember, these units are temporary. They do expire, so this is going to be very good for her, just getting that those units pushed back. She does, however, get enough stone for that second TC, so she will be able to just go ahead and plop that thing down. But again, the militia is just going to go and die to the TC because they were going to die anyway.
Yeah, the militia, or what I like to call Kremlin gremlins, because that's where they're coming out of, they have a 65-second lifespan, right? So any damage that you do, even though the gremlins are temporary, every damage that they do is permanent. So it's really important to make sure you're getting good damage. You create a little bit of idle time. But the thing of it is, Jade was just a little bit too late. You know, she pulled the gremlins just to make sure she was safe. She ended up trying to push the offensive. That stone was so forward for Kathiyeee. It was a really raidable area, but Kathiyeee was able to get it. Kathiyeee was able to, just in the nick of time, get that 350 stone in order to get a second town center, and she's going to be building it right on the gold. This is a very stereotypical 2TC military wing build from Kathiyeee. And even though that town center might be a little bit on the later side, she's going to be able to make sure that that town center gets built with no problems. You know, she wasn't dealing with any kind of raids or anything like that. And look at Whamen. Look how many villagers that she has on gold right now. It's a 2TC military wing fast castle kind of build. And this kind of puts a clock on Jade, because Kathiyee's on 2 town centers, Jade's on 1. If she doesn't get aggressive, if she doesn't take this town center down, she will lose this game.
This is that very big snowball we talked about. However, she's not making villagers out of her second TC just yet. So these numbers are not going to be popping out anytime soon. She might have just forgotten to keybind the 2 together because she does have the food for the villagers. She is just, you know, getting a lot of gold. But with the current villager split, I'm not too sure she's going to be able to get these exactly on Fast Castle. Oof, they instantly go to the TC, get their own little scout, and hopefully popping out to keep going on that gold. But now she is going to need to get another food source if she wants to go castle, because you can have all the gold in the world, and she realizes that, but you do need to go for food. So I'm expecting her to go for the berries outside the base, which is maybe the chance that Jadester needs to do some damage. Because now Jadester, while she doesn't have a night out yet, it's coming. And again, early nights, they're very mobile and they should be able to do well. But getting a response like Horseman, that is going to be the key here, because she might just be able to chase this night down. And as we said, she's going out on berries, making a tower here too. Now, she does send out 8 villagers. Now, usually what we suggest is if you're going to go out on a food source like this and you're only putting down 1 tower against the Night Civ, just take 5. Or put down another tower, and you can take more. But this is going to be quite vulnerable. I'm just hoping to see that Jadester actually realizes this, and she punishes her for it. You can see this knight is being rallied on this side of the map, meaning she's going to go and check if these berries are the ones that Jadester is going to go for. Because as we can see on the minimap, the berries do disappear when they expire, when you're done with them. So she does know that the berries have run out in the base, and now they will be on a different source, which is why she's going to check the top. But this is why you should be using your scout at this point. Oh, but as I'm saying this, Jadester also gets caught out with the villagers going out onto the map. But she does do some good damage to these horses and to the archers themselves. The spearmen are chasing down the horses, but they do get a good stick. Oh, but it does look like it's going to be a pretty good fight for Jadester.
Yeah, this was a good engagement for Jade. And you talked about where a lot of these food resources are for the Abbasid going on berries, for Jade wanting to get out to that hunt, which is something that Roos obviously loves to do. The thing of it is remember the map we're playing on. You know, this is Gorge. So in the middle, this crevasse, I guess, as you like to put it, in the middle of the map, there really isn't much here. You could see it. It's a barren waste. Well, there's some grass, but other than that, it's a barren wasteland, you know? So getting those resources out on the western side of the maps, the eastern side of the maps, on the other side of those gorges is really, really, really important. So map control on this particular map is so crucial. Jade was able to breathe a little bit, making sure that she had enough units, and just because Kathiyee's going for a second town center, so there's no actual way for Kathiyeee to have as many units as Jade does. And now with Jade just going 1 town center, she's able to push the initiative. She was able to take a good engagement. She's going to be trying to target maybe that second town center, maybe her gold villagers. And you can see, just based on the macro from Kathiyeee, in terms of castle age, that is a distant thought for her. I know that Kathiyee's a feudal age player. She really, really enjoys playing in feudal age. And you can see how she's doing that. All of her military production buildings are queuing units. She has more villagers from 43 to 36. Night raid a little bit on that south side. Again, you foreshadowed that perfectly, Whamen. You're so good at this because a little bit of outpost, that's not going to be able to do it enough for you. A couple more villagers might end up going down, but still, Kathiyeee does have the economic lead. And it's going to be very difficult for Jade to try to catch up. She's going to need more villager kills than that.
Now that is going to be something that is going to be really tough to get back from if she doesn't kill enough of them. Now we saw that army difference. It was 17 for Jadester and 1 for Kathiyeee. But just because you have that 2 TC eco, this is quickly changing. It's 18 to 26 right now. Jadester also needs to guard on the map for food. And these deer are not going to be lasting forever. These villages are forgotten a little bit in the tower, so there is a little bit of idle time too, but this knight did a really good job. However, there's still that 7 villager lead, which is going to snowball into more and more units. We see 3 more archers being queued up, but also this knight just going in and getting another villager. Is she going to react? She does lose another one, unfortunately, but the knight has taken a little bit of damage. He's going to need to be a little bit more careful for that next raid, because you don't want to be losing a knight this early on. They are quite expensive, but with this army, I'm glad she's adding in some rams, because rams are the thing that might determine whether she's going to take down this TC. But Jadester, I think you need more than one. You need more than one with this army.
You need enough DPS for this ram, and the ram is going to be doing a good job against that town center. Town center doesn't have as much health as your starting landmark town center, but horsemen are going to be able to get a good charge on it just because they're melee units and because they do bonus damage to siege. That ram already at about 40% health. Kathiyeee is going to be using her archers in the back, a rather defensive unit, just to make sure that she's able to do some damage against some of the other archers, some of the knights that end up charging in. She's doing a really good job pushing these knights up. These horsemen are going to end up going down from Kathiyeee, so not too much of a front line. However, there's not enough knights to actually punish this. Whamen, there's only about like 3 or 4 knights. There's only 1 that's making up the front line for Jade. A couple spearmen end up going down. Kathiyeee going to be able to snipe them out very, very well. And we saw military count for Jade being positive, but this is how the second town center pays off. It's 4 or 5 minutes of making more villagers. Kathiyee's at a +10 economic lead. What does that mean? She's able to get more units, and these archers have steeled arrow. They have that +1 range damage, so they're going to be doing good against knights. You took a look, you clicked on one of Jade's units. Her archers don't have iron undermesh. Her knights don't have iron undermesh. So these archers are a pretty good DPS unit against anything that Jade puts out. Huge, big fight for Kathiyeee. She was able to hold very easily.
Now, this is just that huge snowball, and I don't think there's any way for Jadester to come back from this. She currently has 18 idle as well, so you know, food's running out, resources are running out. She's, as we can see, she's just trying to get closer to more deer. But there's just no clear path for her to get back into this with that big of a loss. At this point, you already have that 11 villager lead. Yes, she did lose a few, but at this point, I don't think it matters. Now, this is going to be the death push from Kathiyeee. I hope that she is ready to make some rams as well. Oh, the villagers are sent back to food. She loses a few more. Oh, just dead villagers everywhere.
Yeah, it's an absolute disaster, and especially because Jade's on 1 town center, right? These are villagers you can't afford to lose. This extends, right? This extends the economic lead, and it's going to continue to do that. Jade has to go back into her Kremlin. She ends up pulling all of the militia. You can see the militia on the eastern side of your screen with their big old bardishes as the axes that they have, and they're going to be able to try to get some damage on these archers. The thing of it is, these gremlins and their militia, they do a little bit of bonus to cavalry units. They do 6 base damage. They have another +6 to cavalry. Against archers, not so much. And they don't have armor. They don't come with their own armor. Kathiyee's doing, I think she's learned this from outside sources on how to deal with Kremlin militia, because they're temporary units. So what do? You don't take the engagement. You back up. You wait that 65 seconds. These militia end up going down, and then all of a sudden, it's like it never even happened. So she's able to go back home just a little bit. She's able to kite these gremlins back to her own base like it even matters in terms of doing damage. She's just waiting, tick, 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 tick. These militia are going to end up going down in the brink of an eye, and then as soon as that happens, Kathiyee's going to death push.
Does, however, still raid, and I love this about Jadester. Right now, Jadester is using this opportunity to do work even though she's currently drowning. So I'm really, really hoping to see that she just continues this. Even because this feels like we can call the game at some point, unless a miracle happens, unless she accidentally selects all her units and clicks delete. I don't think we will be seeing much of Jadester after this game. But I am hoping to see that she continues this journey she's on. She absolutely kept the pressure up, even though she was losing at the same time. So let's see how many ramps we can make with 900 wood, Kathy. Or are you even going to try? Are you just going to jump right on top of them?
Well, and plus you got to remember, I mean, for Jade, we're in God mode, right? So we could see, obviously, Kathiyeee has a big economic advantage. She has a big military advantage. Jade might not necessarily know that, right? And also, Kathiyee's staring down match point into the finals. As you see, she's starting to build rams, and it looks like she will be getting 3 with her spearmen, and her archers are going to be able to build them. But for Jade, this is her tournament life, you know? So you got to make sure that unless you know 100% that you are completely out, you stay in. You know, you see the score on the right-hand part of your screen. Kathiyeee obviously has a big score lead. More villagers from Jade end up going down. Economic count now, 70 to 39. She has, as far as Kathiyeee, she has just about as much military as Jade does population.
And we can see that these tickets are done. There's 2 tickets. And then, in Afrikaans, we actually say, she's tickets. It's over. She has to call these little militia and see what she can do. These archers are standing under the DC, just trying to get a little bit of damage done. But those rams are coming knocking. And, again, still raiding with the knights. Very good pressure, even though her base is on fire.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times with these knights, it's really, really important to try to get some counter raids just to make sure whatever military mass doesn't get that much bigger. The thing of it is, you have a death ball, and I see Trips and Blips in chat saying she wants a Whamenqt. My Whamenqt don't. A lot of these archers are going to be able to protect these rams, trying to make sure those horsemen and those spearmen don't end up taking down the rams. They're trying to take down a lot of those archers over there on the western side. You can see Jade's production buildings just getting completely obliterated. All 4 of those rams now going onto the Kremlin, which is a very tanky building. It's a 5,000 hit point wooden fortress. But with these 4 rams, it's going to go down probably in the blink of an eye. Kathiyeee continuing to add reinforcements, some archers, some spearmen over there on the eastern side. She's adding some horsemen as well, just to make sure she can keep up that composition, because now she's going to get to a point where these rams, they're going to take down the Kremlin, that defensive stronghold that the Rus really liked so much. 3 villagers are trying to repair it, but I'll tell you what, there's not enough hammer bangs on that Kremlin to take that thing back from burning. The Kremlin gets down. All of a sudden, Jade has one more landmark. It's that landmark town center right in the middle of the map, but Whamen, I think the damage has already been done.
No, there's no coming back from this. These rams are just closing in. She's pulling all the villagers, just trying to burn down these rams, but I don't think she realizes Kathiyeee can make more, and Kathiyeee actually can go to castle now. So even if Kathiyeee lost everything now, she can pull back, get castle, and push out right again.
Yeah, and I mean, the big problem with this too is for Kathiyeee, I think she's in an unlosable situation. You know, it's a big problem for Jade, because for Kathiyeee, yeah, she can go up to castle if she wants to. She might be macroing there or whatever the case is. If she just continues to make feudal units, she ends up winning the game too. And that's what's so important for having a second town center and getting that town center to pay off, right? She does go up. She ends up going up at the culture wing. Again, minute 45 seconds, whether you like it or not. You could beg the question that this delays the inevitable. You could beg the question that Kathiyeee is playing with house money. But I do think whether she was making units and the fact that she's able to make units while going up to Castle Age is really, really important. I think this particular, getting these rams down, making sure those archers end up going down, might be a little bit of false hope for Jade. As you can see some of those reinforcements, a lot of them were over back near that Abbasid base. And now that they're all going to be around, horsemen are going to be going into the horsemen of Rus. But the thing of it is, Kathiyeee does have spearmen here. There's one horseman. Those pink horsemen end up staying alive. And there's a reason why Jade's don't. And it's because, again, you've got rock, you've got papers, you've got scissors. And now with all 3 of those combined, it's like the Powerpuff Girls. You just charge right in because you have the counter for everything.
I'm just waiting to see what Kathiyeee is going to do to solidify this game and end it right here. So I'm expecting her to wait for her castle, get her upgrades, because she does have enough gold for those castle age upgrades, make 2 more rams, and call it a day. But Jadester, I don't know what she's thinking behind this. She's like, okay, maybe I go castle and things change. But keep in mind, Jadester, it doesn't matter what you make. It's about how much you make right now, especially with a composition like this. There's no unit that will be able to take these on unless you have a bunch of men-at-arms, which is something that she just can't look at even right now. Now we can see she has no villagers on gold either, so she's just getting this passive gold from the hunting cabins, which is not a lot. Not enough for an age up.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm not sure how many hunting cabins she has around the map, but a lot of them, again, we call it gold trickle for a reason. You know, there's 23 gold, there's 10 gold here, there's 4 gold here. So yeah, it gives you a little bit, but until you get that Castle Age landmark of the high trade house, it doesn't really give you all the gold that you need. And especially what Jade is trying to do, just because the food is becoming a little bit more scarce, right? She's going for berries around the outside of the map. She probably tried to get some boars. Her deer packs are starting to, dwindle. So she's going for more of a wood heavy composition where she has a lot of archers. Thing of it is, Kathiyeee doesn't need to do that. She's at 94 villagers. She's basically getting to the point where she's in her quote-unquote post-game, her post-imperial economy with how many villagers. So she is going to be able to exploit the resources on the map. She's getting a little bit of stone. I'm expecting a little bit of an in-your-face keep. We'll see if it ends up actually happening. But she's able to continue her food-heavy composition where she's starting to add a little bit of gulams. And let me tell you, those gulams, those men-at-arms that you talked about, Whamen, archers shoot BBs at those things. They're essentially just firing marshmallows at them because for how much armor these gulams have, they're going to be able to steamroll through that base. And I think Jade, she's noticing she has to be a little bit more defensive. She's starting to wall up a little bit on that south side and a little bit on that north side as well. A lot of her units she's trying to mass up, but she's trying to make sure they stay home. She's changed her macro a little bit to try to get to Castle Age. And these walls, these fortified palisades for the roost, Jade is banking on them to buy her time. The thing of it is, I don't know how much time she's got left.
Ticking time bomb, tick, tick, tock. And the thing is, she used so many villagers out here to build these walls. Again, that is just creating more idle time. She is getting closer to castle now. We are looking at a 600 gold, but keep in mind, you getting to castle doesn't mean you have castle age units. It doesn't mean you have castle age upgrades, because you still need the gold for the upgrades. So even if she does make it to castle, she's not going to be able to make anything out of that. She's not going to be able to upgrade her units in any case. She's just going to be able to make more wood units, heavy food units. But I don't think castle is the answer for Jadester here.
Yeah, I mean, you're between a rock and a hard place, Whamen, to be honest with you, because you feel like you have to keep making units because you know the onslaught that's coming, but you know the units that you're making are inferior. So do you stay perpetually in feudal and continue to make units, or do you go to Castle Age and try to get all of your upgrades and all of that kind of stuff? But you're exactly right. If she goes up to Castle Age, it's 1,200 food, 600 gold. She just spent 1,800 resources on a fancy building. So what does that mean? It means that, you know, for your opponent, they didn't spend those resources on units. So it should pop into your head and be like, okay, she just spent all of that on whatever Castle Age landmark. So I know that my army is better. And Kathiyee's also going to know that her army is a better quality, right? She's getting upgrades, a lot of her units. She's getting composite bows. You can see it on the top left-hand part of your screen, which makes those archers shoot so quickly. Jade, you just saw her try to go up with the high trade house. She will be trying to put it down again. It looks like around that wood line on the northeastern side. You can see that landmark icon on your mini map. So the high trade house is going to do a little bit of gold trickle, which is great. You know, it's going to do that little bit of gold trickle, but the thing of it is, it's much like a relic. When you get relics in Castle Age, you have to take time for it to pay off. This is not time that Jade really has. This is an excellent timing attack from Kathiyeee because Jade is putting 17 villagers on that high trade house, trying to get up to castle as quickly as possible. But again, she is only feudal age. Those archers are going to continue to be feudal age. There's so many gulams. Kathiyeee is absolutely pop capped right now. Max pop death push. All of these gulams are going to be able to make quick range of these archers. Kathiyeee has a siege advantage as well with mangonels. The Roost player, Jade, in feudal age, she sees that mangonel and she's like, I don't even know what that is. I can't even make one of those yet. So a lot of these mangonels in the back, especially against those archers, getting their rocks off, hitting those 2 or 3 archers, and a lot of them end up going down. Before you know it, military count 78-0 Jade hit Castle Age, essentially in name only. She ends up calling it. Kathiyeee taking the 2-0 series win, and Kathiyeee will be moving on to the Open Women's League Finals.
And this was just the peer showcasing of Abbasid with 2TC. If you let your opponent with 2TC push forward and get to this point in the game, you are going to be stuck with a very difficult transition for yourself. And this is exactly what we saw.